Welcome to Jags Drive Time with Ashlyn Sullivan, John Oehser, and Brian Sexton. Jags Drive Time starts right now.
I'm mic'd up. I wonder where the camera at. Let me talk to my mom real quick. What up, Mom? I'm in New England right now. Been with my boy, Young Kai. Keep going, man. Keep playing hard. We ain't watching the score. Stay together, stay together. Hey, stay together. Yep. Don't look at the score. Just play. Just play. Don't look at the score.
Lawrence taking a deep shot down the field. Treadwell's down there. Treadwell holds on.
Hey, good job. I'm gonna keep fighting with you, brother. Finish.
Laquan Treadwell mic'd up against the New England Patriots. He mentioned don't look at the score. That's because it was not pretty, but you can watch that mic'd up episode on Jaguars.com. It was a good one. He had a good game. Not many others did. We haven't had the chance to talk about that game. We knew it wouldn't be good. The Jaguars COVID list was abysmal that week. Yeah. We knew it was going to be a little bit disorganized, but my gosh, was that ugly.
Well, I wish I'd been talking to Laquan because I kept looking at the score.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I probably would have enjoyed Sunday a lot more had we been in touch that day, Brian.
Yeah, Sunday was no fun at all. I will tell you this. I'm glad that Laquan had the opportunity to have that kind of a game while he was mic'd up. I enjoy a good redemption story. You know, I mean, here's a guy who was considered a bust, and I guess where he was picked by the Vikings, he was absolutely that. Bounced through Atlanta last year. And, you know, in a bad situation this year in Jacksonville, he's found a way to reclaim a bit of his career, you know? I mean, I think he's a guy who can play 5 or 6 more years. Maybe here, be your fourth receiver. Be a guy that can move the chains for you kind of guy. So I enjoyed watching that mic'd up because I like his personality, like his spirit.
Yeah, he's a guy that you'd like to keep, but you would like 3 ahead of him.
Oh,
and he's
yes,
just a complimentary piece, and then it works awesome.
Yeah,
but he's not supposed to be the number one guy.
Well, you're not going to be fooled and go, okay, well, we got one there,
yeah.
Right? You put a couple guys in front and say, okay, well, what's his role? Well, I like the guy who moves the chains, John.
Yeah, you absolutely want a guy like him on your team for when you need him. Unlike you guys, I don't think he has proven that he is a go-to guy. But in the context of this lost season, if
he's the 5th receiver on your team, you're in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say 4 or 5, but that's semantics. Yes, he would be a good guy to have around, and I think he's earned the right to be involved in the mix in some capacity next year.
Absolutely. It is Wednesday. It is time for big things. Big thing 1 is the quarterback. He has always been the guy. This has always been his team, but it was really his team when head coach Urban Meyer was let go, and he was forced to take a step in the right direction with his leadership. On Sunday, he showed that. He was the only player that came to the podium after that awful loss in New England and is showing great strides in his leadership and his poise, and that's why this coaching staff isn't worried about his confidence right now.
You know, I really don't think so. Just the makeup that he has, I'm really impressed with him. As I've told you many times, you know, I'm just impressed with the poise that he has, and you know the responsibility that he's willing to take for the things that you know he needs to take responsibilities for, and he's learning from all of these. You know, as long as he continues to take those as learning moments and improves from them, gets better. You know, I don't think that you know these are deep scars. I mean, he hasn't gotten beat up or pounded in the games. You know, with that kind of stuff. So he's been able to handle the situations as they come.
Big thing, too, is the coach. Looking like in possibly the next 2 weeks, the Jaguars will have a new head coach. Interviews have reportedly already been had with Doug Peterson, Jim Caldwell, as well as Bucs defensive coordinator Todd Bowles. Those have all been checked off the list, but there are still interviews to be had. So we will wait patiently for a new head coach decision to come here shortly, hopefully. And finally, big thing 3 is the end. Sunday is the last game of this crazy season, and when head coach Urban Meyer was hired and Trevor Lawrence was drafted, you thought this was just a chapter in a very long book of great memories. And it was more so like a short haiku poem that didn't go well at all and lasted a very short time. So for this week, the focus is just getting through this last chapter.
There's a high frustration level with a lot of guys. I don't think any of us envisioned the season going the way that it did. When you start here, whatever it was 11 months ago, you have these great visions in your head of how this thing's going to go. Obviously, Trevor coming in as a rookie quarterback, I think he thought it was going to go a particular way. But there's been a lot of struggles. There's been a lot of lessons learned. There's been, everything that we're fighting through, a lot of adversity. So he's gotten his fair share of that this year. I think he's handled it tremendously. I think he's been upstanding in all the things that we've asked him to do. He's faced the music every time he's needed to. He's taken responsibility for things that he's needed to. But one guy can't do it all by himself. Regardless of how good that player is, you need help from the other guys around you, and all of us have to be better.
And there you have it. That is big things. The Jaguars wrap up this season with a home game against the Colts this Sunday. And I was talking to some other reporters around the league, and they're like, my gosh, this year has flown by. I cannot believe it's the last week of the season. And I said, well, I can.
What world do they live in?
Because my gosh, has it felt like it.
When you're winning, as you remember from 2017, all of a sudden it's Christmas. And when you're losing, you're thinking, man, is Christmas ever going to get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has felt like a very, very long season, and thankfully it's over. I remember the conversation we had back when we started Drive Time again for the new season, and that was you wanted at the end of the year to see a team that was playing well, not necessarily winning, but ascending.
It's nice to want things.
Yeah. Well, so I was paying attention to the Lions the last couple of weeks, and the first half of their game against Seattle, they were where I hope this team might be. Their quarterback was playing with some confidence. Their defense was. Now, they folded in the second half and gave up 51 points. So they're not that much further ahead. But on Sunday, if the quarterback can come out and play well, and it's a big ask, right? Although we've seen signs of life from this quarterback and these guys the last 2 weeks, then maybe you can go into the offseason and go, okay, there's a little bit of this. You want something to make you feel like there was progress. They've got 6 straight wins against the Colts here. And I don't know. For some reason, I expect them to come out and play well. I don't know that means win. Colts are playing for everything. But I expect a fight on Sunday. Closer to the Jets than the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
That was a noble effort. I respect.
Yeah.
I respect what you just
We've seen
went
it in
through.
the past.
I don't think anything that happens Sunday is going to make very many people feel like it's up. I just think the last 8 games.
Really wasn't worried about other people. I was worried about myself.
Right. Well,
I want to feel good.
I've just been saying for the last couple of weeks, and Ashlyn and I talked about it after the game on Sunday. There's not that much left to analyze. Mm-hmm. I believe in Trevor Lawrence's ability. I believe in his mental makeup, his work ethic, his skill set, his approach. All the things that I want to see, I still believe in. I don't think you've been able to see it the last couple of months. I guess if he has a lights-out game on Sunday, you feel a little better. And for your sake, Brian, good friend of mine for 27, I hope that you feel better about things. I don't know that realistically there's going to be much gained beyond just him getting reps, him experiencing it. And are the coaches who come in really going to look that much at this tape? Somewhat, but I think it's just a reset time.
And Gene Fournette wrote the column in the Times-Union.
Had to have been good then.
Yeah. Here I am just tossing softballs, right? You keep going. But when you saw the infrastructure that they built around that kid, right? The 2 tight ends in particular, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, that made everything else. When a guy like Chris Wilkerson.
Mac Jones on Sunday.
I'm talking about Mac Jones on Sunday, right? They built an honest-to-goodness infrastructure around a rookie quarterback. They didn't do a good job at doing that here. They thought that DJ Chark and Travis Etienne was all the speed they needed. Well, those guys were gone by the end of September. And then they didn't make a move and try to create something at the trade deadline. Or maybe there wasn't anything there. Who knows? But this thing has just gone downhill. The difference in circumstance. I've got a thought, and I'm going to share it in this or that, so I won't go too far on this. I believe in this kid. And I look back and see what's happened in the past between 16 and 17 here and think you can make a big step forward next year. You decide what that is, and I'm going to ask you that in this or that.
Wow, that's quite the tease.
That is it's a good tease. That's a lot of broadcasting experience.
It is.
27,
this or that, you're going to have to wait about 10 minutes for,
okay.
So we'll make it happen. Tom Pelissero from NFL Network joins us next on Jaguars Drive Time right here on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Jags Drive Time is brought to you by TIAA Bank. Turn potential into progress. And by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Your family isn't like anyone else's. Your home shouldn't be either. At Dreamfinders Homes, you can build the home of your dreams in one of their 30-plus communities in Northeast Florida. Choose from luxury single-family homes or maintenance-free townhomes from the 200s. Dreamfinders specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. To find out more, call 904-738-0165 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
At VyStar Credit Union, you inspire us to deliver on our promise, to do good for our members and our communities. That's why we offer more banking options, like better rates and no hidden fees. We also give back, donating several $1 million to hundreds of nonprofits each year. Better financial lives, stronger communities. VyStar Credit Union. Do good. Bank better. Visit vystarcu.org/join. Insured by NCUA.
Hi folks, Frank Frangie here to tell you where to find the most authentic Southern Pit barbecue in all of Jacksonville. That's right, Bono's. For 72 years, Bono's has been smoking real pit barbecue right here on the First Coast. Smoked for hours, served in minutes, and always cut to order. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at TIAA Bank Field. Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you want great barbecue, head to Bono's today. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Price.com is the easiest way to save money with comparison shopping, cashback, coupons, all in one. It's free. Try Price.com today.
This or that. This or that.
We're back, Jaguars Drive Time. It is Wednesday. We're comparing and contrasting here with this or that. And Brian, you are
Here we go.
in luck.
Well,
the tease, it's time.
I wouldn't say luck. It must be good enough, worthy of it. Okay, so what would it take for you to feel good about 2022? Would you feel good at 7-10, right? Which I think a lot of people would take that right now in a heartbeat. Or do you need 9 wins? And the thought process here is, Mr. Khan said, don't bring me a 5-year plan. He's not looking for someone to bring him a long turnaround plan. He's looking for someone who can come in here and get some things done. So just as a means of laying out the criteria here, do you guys remember what was the Jaguars' record in 2016? Do you even recall?
I think it was 3-13.
It was 3-13, right? I quizzed some people here today, and they're like 5-6 wins. No, 3-13, and they had a 9-game losing streak, which is what got Gus Bradley fired. Okay, so the next year they go 10-6, as we all know, and go to the AFC Championship game. How many new players did the Jaguars add in the offseason?
It's probably 4 or 5.
Okay, so it was 3 starters on each side of the ball, right?
Key pieces.
All right, okay, so here's the deal. They said Calais Campbell, obviously a key piece, A.J. Boye, and Barry Church on the defensive side. On the offensive side, Cam Robinson, who's still here, Patrick Omame, who was just a free agent fill-in, and Leonard Fournette. So they used the draft and they used free agency. Of course, they changed coaches, which we're seeing here. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to suggest this roster is as good as that roster was, because they had Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack, Telvin Smith. They had some pieces in place. However, I don't think it's unrealistic to expect that if they hire the right coach and they bring in the right pieces, remember, they've got 12 draft picks this year, and they've got more than $80 million in cap room available to them. And as I've said, let's spend to the cap the next 3 years,
Spend the
folks.
money.
Let's go. Next 3 years, the cap is open before you start having to think about how you're going to pay this quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think 7, 8, 9 wins with well-placed players, and this quarterback being the most well-placed. Because let's not forget, Blake Bortles was okay. But they went to the AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles, and I think this guy is far, far better of a quarterback than Blake Bortles. So 8, right? I mean, right in the middle. 8 would make me really, really happy. What would it take for you?
Both of those, 7 or 9, both make me happy.
Okay.
Because my gosh, is that different than this year? And it shows that you got the pieces you needed. It's obvious what the pieces are. It's wide receiver. It's offensive weapons.
Right.
For you to get to 7 or 9 wins, you have those offensive pieces in place. So you did the right thing.
One caveat real quick. They added Marcel Darius middle of the season.
Yes. And he was a key piece for sure.
Happiness is such a
fleeting example.
It's
so hard for you to picture, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to get my head around it. I would feel good if you felt like it wasn't off the rails.
Yeah.
Frankly. I mean, I guess I have to say the same thing that I said last off season. because I feel like you're restarting again. If you feel by the end of the season next season that it's going in the right direction, if that means 4 or 5 wins, but you feel like you've competed in every game, I know people are saying, well, that's what you said last year. Well, look, this year's lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a wreck. I mean, it was.
They really only competed.
Shin
in 5
called
games
it
this year. Yeah.
a haiku. It was a bad limerick. Yeah. I mean, so I think if you see progress, 5-6 wins with Trevor looking right, with pieces in place, I just think you've got to put the same mark or the same measure as you did last year. 7 would make me ecstatic.
Okay.
Ecstatic, and I'm never ecstatic.
No, you're not. They have the tools to go and do what they did in 2017, to be uber aggressive in both free agency and in the draft. Do it.
Yeah, one thing makes you a little more. I get completely what you're saying. 5 or 6 right pieces can make a world of difference. The 16 defense was a lot better than this defense.
I do know
it was a good unit that needed a couple of pieces. It feels like you're a year away from being sick. I'm not saying 3-13 record. A year away from having the talent that you had in 16 to make a jump. Still, you can get a lot better in 1 year.
I think you can get a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I just use that 16 to 17 as an example to people, right? Because when you say to people, what were they in 16? Well, 5 or 6. No, they were 3. It was desperate. 9 straight losses. It was desperate.
Yeah.
And
but
you had
2017 was so good you don't remember that.
You had a quarterback that you weren't crazy about, right? That you're thinking, this is probably not the guy. Oh, okay.
And to your point, at the end of the 16 season, they rolled Tennessee out here when Tennessee was good. I don't think they're going to do that to the Colts. If they did that to the Colts, would you feel a little better about things? Brian, for your sake, maybe.
Well, I did just one more thing then. In the history piece that I wrote that will go up on Thursday, I sent it to you yesterday. In 2015, this team was 4-8. And the Colts came in here 7-6, and they were still in the playoff race. And the Jaguars rolled them 51-16. They fell down 13-3, right? But then in the second half, they rolled. And that was the first game of what is now a 6-game home winning streak against the Colts. I know, it seems illogical to suggest it. But I think based on the way that the quarterback talked in the post game on Sunday, I expect him to play well.
Okay. John, you're this or that, kind sir.
Oh, this or that. This will either be, it's pretty obvious that a tight game or another blowout. I got to be honest, I don't feel that much different going into this game than I did last week's game. Jonathan Taylor is really good. Yeah. He's elite. I think we all remember he ran for like 375 yards on the Jaguars last year in the season finale.
253.
And I exaggerate. He needs something like 266 this weekend to reach 2,000. I'm not going to predict 266, but I think he's going to run for a lot because I just wonder if this team is going to want to play hard for 4 quarters given these circumstances.
He'll play hard. I think this quarterback, it's his team now, and I think I just think there's a little residual there where he's got credibility in the locker room. Not enough talent. I get it. I'm not predicting a win, but I think they'll play well.
Yeah, it was.
Go ahead, Sean.
I was on a Colts podcast yesterday, and it was interesting that they brought up Jacksonville. They're like, my gosh, it's the Achilles heel for the Colts. They just can never win there. And I didn't realize, truthfully, the stat that they haven't won here in 6 years. And it was almost refreshing to hear, my gosh, Jacksonville, the Achilles heel of something. And they were like, yeah, we're worried about this game. And I'm thinking, why? But it's
one
true.
Of the
this
strangest
matchup
stats
is
in the
weird.
National Football League going on. The fact that this team has controlled the Colts here for 6 years through different regimes. There's no common thread.
Yeah.
Nope. So maybe that'll do it. The key is get them into the fourth quarter.
That's it.
And then in a game like this, you've got a chance. So if it's close in the fourth quarter, look out.
Yes, we will see. When we come back on Jaguars Drive Time, more about that game, more about the head coaching search here in Jacksonville NFL Network's Tom Pelissero joins us next.
Your family isn't like anyone else's. Your home shouldn't be either. At Dreamfinders Homes, you can build the home of your dreams in one of their 30-plus communities in Northeast Florida. Choose from luxury single-family homes or maintenance-free townhomes from the 200s. Dreamfinders specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. To find out more, call 904-738-0165 or visit dreamfindershomes.com. Roof Claim is a proud supporter of professional football and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They built their company on an idea that homeowners deserve to be winners. When a home is damaged by severe weather, Roof Claim can identify the damage, work with your insurance company, and help you professionally replace your roof. At Roof Claim, they make protection simple. Visit their website at roofclaim.com to schedule your free drone or in-person inspection.
At VyStar Credit Union, you inspire us to deliver on our promise, to do good for our members and our communities. That's why we offer more banking options, like better rates and no hidden fees. We also give back, donating several $1 million to hundreds of nonprofits each year. Better financial lives, stronger communities. VyStar Credit Union. Do good. Bank better. Visit vystarcu.org/join. Insured by NCUA.
Over 30 communities to choose from with the best selection of move-in ready homes. Quality, value, personalization. That's the Dreamfinders Homes difference. Visit dreamfindershomes.com. We're back, Jaguars Drive Time. It is Wednesday, getting ready for the final home game of the season here in Jacksonville on Sunday against the Colts, and also getting ready for a new head coach to come to Jacksonville. And this guy from NFL Network, Tom Pelissero, has been all over the Jaguars head coaching news, past and present. And Tom, is the national narrative the same as it is here in Jacksonville of, oh my gosh, we are back here again. I can't believe it.
Well, Ashlyn, I would say that certainly based on how everything played out with Urban Meyer, which was a disappointment of pretty large proportions to Shad Khan, to the Jaguars organization, certainly to the fan base as well. You also didn't make a mistake that teams sometimes make, which is not acknowledging your mistake soon enough. In other words, they moved on from Urban Meyer after less than one full season. They are trying to reboot. They are trying to get this right. They understood the depths of the issue, and now they've got a chance to start over. I would say this. There are building blocks in Jacksonville. You've got a potential franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, who was just the number one pick 8-9 months ago here. You've got some good talent elsewhere on offense, namely James Robinson. You've got some building blocks on defense, guys like Josh Allen. The cupboard is not entirely bare. Certainly, though, when candidates are evaluating the situation, they're thinking about why, for most of the Jaguars franchise history, have they not been able to win? Why, over the past decade, have they not been able to sustain any success, even though 4 years ago they were in an AFC championship game? I think that certainly the job is more attractive than some people might believe, but you're going to want to know not just, how are we going to get the offense right? How are we going to get Trevor Lawrence right? Even though that's a big part of it. It's how are we going to get the organization right? How are we going to change everything in the entire culture, which is what Urban Meyer was hired to do as well. So you got to come in with a plan from top down, not simply, the narrow part of the job, but also at the same time, the Jaguars absolutely are going to be conscientious of making sure that there's a really good plan to develop Trevor Lawrence and have him turn into the really good quarterback that they believe he can be.
I think you're spot on. Good morning, Tom. You look at this at there's first pick probably in every round, and they've got 12 picks, and they'll have more than $80 million in salary cap room. From a fundamentals perspective that you just talked about, I totally agree. This is very attractive. It's that culture. It's that plan. So from that perspective, is the list of names that you've reported and that we've heard, is that comprehensive? I mean, is that the list, or is there someone that you think probably should be?
Certainly, that's the starting point. Search is going to be the names that you've seen. But remember, the Jaguars are the only team that took advantage of the new rule to begin doing interviews during the final 2 weeks of the regular season. So they've got a head start here. There's nothing to say as things evolve or as they, get a better feel for the initial candidates that they can't expand that search. They've already conducted at least 3 interviews. Former Eagles coach Doug Peterson, who's won a Super Bowl. They already interviewed Buccaneers defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, who, a really strong defensive mind, somebody that as a person everybody really likes within the league and had some success early on under difficult circumstances with the New York Jets. And then yesterday, according to my colleague Ian Rappaport, they interviewed Jim Caldwell, a guy who has had pretty good teams. He's been to the playoffs in multiple spots in Indianapolis and Detroit. Kellen Moore, the Cowboys offensive coordinator. The timeline may have changed a little bit on that interview because the Cowboys got their game bumped up by a day, but expect that interview to take place by the end of the week. And then, there were some things put out there about, Dan Quinn declining an interview. There's been no one who has declined an interview. Now, there are coaches who have just said, hey, the normal process for years and years has been these interviews take place in the postseason. And also, it's important to note, these initial interviews over 2 weeks, if you are a assistant coach on a team right now, you can only do 2 hours virtually. And then you can't talk to the Jaguars or any other team you're interviewing with. Again, you can't talk to them at all in person until either your season ends or until after the conference championship games. So there's some strategy in here in a new environment in terms of these interviews where a guy like Dan Quinn, who's going to be very targeted about what he wants to do for his next opportunity, is just saying, hey, I'm going to have other interview opportunities. I'd rather just think about this as we get a little further into the process, meet in person, get a feel for people. Same thing with Matt Eberflus, the Colts defensive coordinator. They also have a request in for Byron Leftwich, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. We'll see exactly when that one takes place. But again, this is not an unattractive job. You've got a quarterback. You've got some talented pieces. You've got a plan in place to build a new facility, which is something the Jaguars have needed for a while and that Urban Meyer really pushed for. If he's got one lasting positive legacy in Jacksonville, it will be pushing for that new facility. And you've got an owner in Shad Khan who is historically very patient. He is very supportive. Those are the things that you're looking for as a head coach. Now, there's also going to be speculation. I know it's been a big topic among the fan base about general manager Trent Baalke and what his role is going to be with the organization moving forward. Are there some people, some potential candidates who would not want to work with Trent Baalke? Sure. Are there some other candidates who would be willing to work with Trent Baalke? Yeah, absolutely. So it's not a binary nobody or everybody type of a thing. I think that we tend to think a little bit too black and white on those things. They're going to run a thorough process here. They're already showing that with 8 requests in, 3 interviews done so far, and they're going to do more. I would expect they're going to cast a wide net here as they're doing.
Do you sense that there's a rush, Tom, in the sense that once the regular season ends, it feels like all of a sudden the pool is going, the teams looking are going to get a lot more. Is there a huge advantage for having started already for the Jaguars, I guess is what I'm asking.
John, I'd say not necessarily a huge advantage, but there is some advantage that you've kind of got a better feel for the candidate pool early on. And also Nathaniel Hackett, that's the other one that slipped my mind there. The Packers offensive coordinator is really well regarded, of course, a familiar name to Jaguars fans. Expect his interview to be in person as we get into the postseason here. Yeah, you always have that dynamic where, the majority of coaching changes usually come after the end of the regular season. This is a really unique year where you had John Gruden with the Raiders resign back in, I want to say it was late September, early October, then nothing until Urban Meyer gets fired in early December, and then nothing further. So you're going to have a wave of at least 3 other openings. There could be a couple of more throughout the league. And then you have competition. And this is one of the ongoing topics within the league and certainly at the league office when we're talking about promoting diversity and equity among candidates and having a diverse pool. One thing that they always talk about at the league level and people at the Fritz Pollard Alliance and elsewhere is we got to slow down the process. We have to be able to extend the process, which is what they were trying to do with this rule with the 2-week interview window. I think it's already apparent at this point that maybe that's not going to work out exactly as people were expecting, but there's some other rules in place. For instance, you now have to have at least one in-person interview with an external minority candidate before making a hire. That's going to be a net positive because it's going to give owners better foundation, have them spend more face time with more candidates and diverse candidates. I think that that's a good thing for everybody within the league. So there are some things in place here where you're not just going to make 3 phone calls and then hire somebody. And that's been the case for years. It is a more extensive process than it's ever been this year. But is there a rush? Absolutely. There's always a rush to that first candidate. I would say this year is unique in part too, because there's not that single hot candidate that everyone is talking about. For instance, Arthur Smith last year had 4 requests, I think it was, out of the gate. He set up 4 in-person interviews. He was going to make a tour. He didn't even make it to the 4th one. The Falcons hired him. I don't know that we have that candidate in this group, though there are certainly names on the Jaguars list between Dan Quinn, between Kellen Moore, Nathaniel Hackett, among others, who I think are going to be in the mix for a lot of jobs in this cycle.
Yes, we mentioned those names that you reported, and the pressure's on, all right? So pick the one guy. Who do you think makes the most sense for this Jaguars head coaching vacancy?
Ashlyn, I learned a long time ago not to make predictions in these things because I think that every team has its own criteria. Every owner is looking for different qualities, different things. I do think that it's fair to say everybody's going to have a plan for the quarterback. And the surest way to do that is to hire somebody with a quarterback background. So when you're talking about whether it's Doug Peterson or Kellen Moore or Jim Caldwell or Byron Leftwich, all those guys, based on their history, look at their resumes. They all either played quarterback, they coached the quarterbacks, they came up as offensive coordinators. All those guys would be logical fits for what they need to accomplish in Jacksonville. But you're also looking for a leader of men. You're also looking for somebody who's going to be able to turn around the culture. So do you go to a Jim Caldwell, who would be in his third head coaching opportunity, someone who's done it before? Do you like the idea of maybe bringing in a Kellen Moore, who's very young? I think he's 33 years old, very creative, well-regarded mind, but has a lot to learn in terms of the big picture. Could you pair him with some, former head coaches on his staff, guys who could be the assistant head coach, help him with all those other administrative things and help him build that culture? That's why you do the interviews. You don't just, pluck a name out of a hat and say, that's our guy. You run a thorough process because you want to hear different things. So sitting here when they've only conducted 3 interviews would be difficult to say, this is the singular guy who's going to make a lot of sense. I personally think that one of the really interesting fits would be Nathaniel Hackett, because if anybody knows what has ailed that building in Jacksonville, it's a guy who's lived through it, both on the good end of going to an AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles as his quarterback and scored 45 points in Heinz Field to get to the AFC title game. I was at that game. I watched it. It was one of the most fascinating games that I've ever attended. And then the following year for Hackett to get washed out, Doug Marrone trying to figure out some things staffing-wise and looking to shake things up. He's seen the good and the bad. I think that's just a really unique fit, something we haven't seen a whole lot of times, a guy who has had both success and been fired by an organization coming back in the head coaching mix. And Hackett's somebody, too, who just based on his personality, his energy level, how respected he is by players, would be such a polar shift from what Jacksonville had this past season that it would certainly be a really unique and interesting fit.
It is. Great point. It would be interesting, to say the least. And Nathaniel Hackett, a great guy that we remember very well here in Jacksonville. Tom Pelissero, thank you so much for your analysis and your insight. We appreciate it very much.
You got it, guys.
When we come back on Jaguars Drive Time, some closing thoughts here on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Jags Drive Time is presented in part by Dreamfinders Homes, homes that fit your lifestyle, and Baptist Health, changing healthcare for good. Your family isn't like anyone else's. Your home shouldn't be either. At Dreamfinders Homes, you can build the home of your dreams in one of their 30-plus communities in Northeast Florida. Choose from luxury single-family homes or maintenance-free townhomes from the 200s. Dreamfinders specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. To find out more, call 904-738-0165 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
It's a fact. All cars will eventually break down. If you have CarShield, you can protect yourself from the high cost of auto repairs. And they're America's #1 auto protection company. Your transmission, engine, and car's computer system are all covered. Get the ultimate vehicle service protection. Call CarShield now at 800-471-1223. That's 800-471-1223.
At VyStar Credit Union, you inspire us to deliver on our promise, to do good for our members and our communities. That's why we offer more banking options, like better rates and no hidden fees. We also give back, donating several $1 million to hundreds of nonprofits each year. Better financial lives, stronger communities. VyStar Credit Union. Do good. Bank better. Visit vystarcu.org/join. Insured by NCUA.
Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by VyStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. Coming up here on this Wednesday, the Jaguars back on the practice field getting ready for the Colts, the final game of the season here in Jacksonville. Interim head coach Darrell Bevell meets the media about an hour on Jaguars.com Live. Trevor Lawrence speaks to the media this afternoon. You can watch that on social media as well as Jaguars.com. the Huddle Up podcast with Bucky Brooks, John Oehser, JP Shadrick this afternoon, and we're back here at Jaguars Drive Time tomorrow morning. I'll see you then.